Okay, so this is video number 8, I believe, glam rock. So maybe Western culture was getting a bit masculine, a bit macho, pretty serious. Even rock music and other art forms, massively dominated by men. With the odd exceptions, obviously. So it needed to kind of balance out a bit. And this scene came out of London, like many, and was massively influenced by United States scenes, like many also. You might say in terms of image, musicians in the 60s, kind of promoting androgyny and, playing with sexes and in more ways than one, makeup and famous platform shoes that gives you height and glitter and flares. I mentioned before Screaming Lord Sutch. He was definitely one to kind of novelty pop rock act, definitely kind of really blurring the boundaries, and of course, men dressing up as women and makeup and as centuries old, dating back to the time when women weren't allowed to or weren't acceptable actors, they could not act, so men had to play the women's roles in plays and stuff, so the whole thing's pretty ancient, you got Elton John coming from a really strong rock and roll background, and then being really extravagant on stage, and his costumes got progressively more outrageous. That's the late 60s. David Bowie, again, late 60s, already starting to kind of find his comfort in kind of androgyny and bit of makeup. You can see the 1969 Space Odyssey, it's already looking like could be like a woman, that video. And then out of psychedelic folk and rock, you get Velvet Underground and Iggy Pop and the Stooges also kind of dabbled with makeup, and some consider them glam rock acts. That's fair enough. So, it's glam rock is very difficult to define. It's almost like alternative rock or garage rock, something like this. It's almost like they could be playing any kind of rock, just as long as they kind of look like women or have big hair or have makeup. And that may be the definition of glam rock. But you can hear classic kind of T-Rex, their sound. You can kind of hear that in when they changed from becoming like a psychedelic folk band or band. They didn't really have many musicians or drums or anything. It was like a folk act, a bit like quite David Bowie, like first album or second album, kind of without a band. But then later they kind of got more of a fuller sound, and that sound of T-Rex and also Roxy Music, one of my personal glam favourites, awesome kind of progressive attitude towards music. And you can kind of hear that sound in Velvet Underground, the Stooges, and also, you know, in rock and roll from the 50s and bubblegum pop and lots of kind of early pop, surf, you know, same old story really, but it deviated from punk rock because it left where Velvet Underground and Stooges took punk rock to quite heavy, modern sounding levels. Glam rock kind of deviated from that, didn't go so far, distortion wasn't such an important aspect, and they were more about elegance and flamboyance, and so yeah, so they brought it back, a bit more truer rock and roll sound, still lots of classic blues sounds there. Anything else? Yeah, I mean, so the glam rock, I mean, it's a massively important scene, really. I mean, not necessarily musically, because, as I said, it's so difficult to define, and so many bands might fall into glam rock. I mean, early T-Rex sounded a lot like the Kinks, you know, London band, folky London band. So, you know, there's this massive blurs, but it was a culturally really important step, and to you know, liberate I think men and women, you know, probably you know, it became more acceptable for men to be more effeminate and simultaneously the women become more masculine, you know, kind of blurring the lines. And so, you know, Queen, famously gay lead singer, was, you know, could have been, were in those early years very often put into the glam rock category for these same kinds of reasons. And yeah, so this is a massive, I mean, it was a pop scene in England anyway. You know, loads of number ones, Slade, and you know, massive glam rock bands and hits. You know, it's like top of the pop, you know, top of the pops, you know, full on. In the United States, it didn't get to such commercial level, but yeah, it was a pop scene. The first half of the 70s, you know, many glam rock acts were being becoming very successful. Suzi Quatro in the United States, a great example. She was a woman that kind of almost like backwards glam. You know, she was really masculine woman. You know, very sexual, very masculine, and really important in that kind of blurring of male-female images, and very important in her and the whole scene advancing through many scenes, through metal and goth and new wave. Even into the 90s, you know, I remember, you know, entering new school at like 13, and glam rock was like big. I remember my first girlfriend was really into that, you know, like 30 years or 20 years later, 25 years later almost. So yeah, really important scene there.